Worst nutrition mistakes every lifter makes. I'll share the worst nutrition mistakes every lifter, including myself, commits in this video. I wish I had known about these things when I started lifting almost 10 years ago because I would have achieved higher gains without so many extra hurdles. First off, most people think you can force-feed muscular growth. You can't. Many people observe pro bodybuilders eating 5,000 plus calories and figure they must eat big to get huge. Some lifters may be right, but bodybuilding anecdotes are generally unreliable. Most pro bodybuilders take significant amounts of anabolic steroids, have world-class genetics, and have trained for a decade. It's impossible to tell if their outcomes are from eating big to getting big or a combination of other variables. You can't force-feed muscle growth because studies show that overfeeding someone with a huge calorie surplus leads to more fat than muscle. Weight training doesn't change this. This 2013 Garth and colleagues study excellently highlights the problem with extreme bulking. The researchers divided 47 elite athletes into two groups. The two groups ate in relatively significant and minor caloric surpluses. The huge surplus group averaged 621 extra calories. Both groups followed the identical weight training program for 10 weeks and found this. The high-calorie group gained weight as expected. They acquired slightly more lean mass, but not statistically. The fat increase was the main difference. Larger surplus groups developed more fat than smaller ones. Extra calories didn't increase muscle gain, but they did increase fat accumulation. A later 2019 study confirmed these findings, leading experts to call nutrition a permissive function in muscle growth. Thus, your food allows muscular growth, not causes it. You can't force muscular growth. Training builds muscle. Diet provides the building blocks. Imagine your body as a giant building with your exercise program as the blueprint and construction team and nutrition as the building components. Overflowing building blocks pile up at the job site. You built muscle and this is fat. You need maintenance calories to maintain your weight, thus most lifters should eat somewhere in this range to grow muscle. If you want to grow muscle faster and are okay with fat gain, go 10 to 20% surplus. A 5 to 10% excess is ideal for leaner bulking. A modest calorie deficit in this zone is beneficial for fat loss and muscle gain. To clarify, aggressive bulks aren't always negative. Lifters consider dreaming bulks a rite of passage. Contrary to the short-term Garth study, my coaching experience shows that more forceful bulks lead to longer-term strength gains. I'll reserve the remainder of my bulking tips for a future video on sustainable bulking, like the one I produced on sustainable fat reduction. The second mistake most people make is not realizing most supplements are overrated. Several supplements work now. Creatine, caffeine, and protein powder are my muscle-building favorites. Even with these three most science-based supplements, I think many individuals, including science-based lifters, overestimate how much muscle they will gain. Creatine is one of the most researched and effective supplements. Yes, and we hear it so much that I think many new lifters think it will give them a huge steroid-like increase. Creatine should enhance lean mass by 2 to 3 pounds, according to most research. The comprehensive evaluation of 22 research on older adults indicated that creatine increased lean mass by 1.4 kilograms or 3 pounds compared to placebo in studies ranging from 7 weeks to a year. It does, and 2 to 3 pounds of lean mass matters. It's a good increase, and plain creatine monohydrate is cheap, so I recommend it. However, compared to a bodybuilding steroid cycle, which can add 10 to 20 pounds of lean mass in a month or two, expectations should be tempered. I also use caffeine, which has a lot of scientific evidence supporting its strength, power, and muscular endurance benefits. I found that caffeine boosts mental performance before training. Muscle growth research isn't extremely intriguing. Caffeine works, not doesn't. Just manage your expectations. Pre-workout caffeine may be the only thing getting you out of the couch and into the gym, which could affect your gains behaviorally. If you're training anyway, caffeine supplementation won't make a big difference in muscle gains. Finally, protein powder is a supplement I recommend for muscle growth with a lot of scientific backing. Protein powders make meeting daily protein goals easy. If you can meet your protein needs with high-protein foods alone, adding protein powder won't help. Again, I take all three supplements and recommend them to serious lifters who can afford them. As you proceed down the list, the supplements get less promising. Most people think you need a high-protein diet to grow muscle, the third error. You don't. My position on this has changed in recent years. A new study has changed my protein recommendation. Many believe that eating more protein will make your body create more muscle. Since muscle is comprised of protein, eating more protein builds muscle. It seems obvious, yet a study demonstrates that protein has a much lesser influence on muscle building than exercising. Eating protein induces short-lived blips in muscle protein synthesis, but training promotes long-lasting increase, which drives new growth. The ideal protein target for growing muscle in a calorie excess is 0.7 to 1 gram per pound or 1.6 to 2.2 grams per kilo, according to a recent study. I place most people in the middle, and going higher won't increase gains. In a calorie deficit for fat loss, increasing protein to 0.8 to 1.2 grams per pound may prevent muscle loss or even allow muscle development. I'm still cutting and eating 150 grams of protein per day at 165 pounds or 0.9 grams per pound. I say this to emphasize that sitting in the lower end of these ranges is good, and I only recommend the upper end if someone is truly shredded and in significant danger of muscle loss. Naturally, you can gain muscle even if you consume below these recommended levels, although it may take longer. Morton and colleagues showed in a systematic review that protein increases muscle growth up to 0.7 grams per pound. At that point, the trend breaks. Going up from there doesn't seem to help, but gains still occur below 0.7 grams per pound. They do. Simply eating 0.5 grams per pound would build muscle. Less fast. It will take longer to grow muscle if you can't afford or don't desire a high-protein diet. It may also be comforting to know that the recommended protein consumption is still much lower than most bodybuilding magazines recommend. Misunderstanding meal frequency is the fourth common mistake. Many people aren't aware that fat reduction meal frequency is up to them. I incline to say that the amount of meals you consume daily doesn't matter. Eating 1 or 2 substantial meals per day within a time-restricted feeding window may help some people shed more fat by reducing their daily caloric intake. For others, restricting their eating window makes dieting harder. They may have decreased energy and hunger during the day. Thus, a higher frequency grazing meal pattern of 4, 5, or 6 smaller meals throughout the day may be more helpful for them. Fortunately, we have plenty of room to test both, because scientific research reveals that comparing calorie and protein consumption doesn't show a clear winner. This is why I think it's crucial not to consume 6 to 8 meals a day only to boost metabolism. It doesn't. And why intermittent fasting shouldn't be difficult to keep just because it's claimed to burn belly fat better. It's not. Just discover a meal schedule that helps you stick to the program. Muscle growth appears to be modestly affected by the amount of meals you eat every day, but not as much as most people imagine. You could eat 3 to 6 protein-containing meals a day and still gain muscle, according to a 2021 study. Another 2020 study indicated that eating 3 meals a day trended toward more muscle gain than eating 2, with a rather large effect size that didn't approach statistical significance. As of today, I think 1 to 6 meals per day is sufficient for fat loss, while 3 to 6 meals may be better for muscle gain. However, in the 2020 trial, the 2-meal group still made advances, and the difference between 2 and 3 meals wasn't huge. Finally, the Macrofactor diet app is something I wish I had known when I started learning about nutrition. I'm a part owner of Macrofactor and have been involved in its development since the beginning. I think it's the best algorithm-based nutrition coaching software. As I explained in the video, good bodybuilding nutrition doesn't involve force-feeding calories, discovering a magic supplement, consuming too much protein, or following a flawless meal schedule. Instead, hitting a goal-appropriate calorie target and eating enough protein to support muscle mass are the most critical things you can do. Because everyone's diet demands are distinct and can alter over time due to metabolism, training, and body composition, you must constantly update your calories and macronutrients. Macrofactor will handle this based on your body's response to the plan. The weight trend tool and weekly check-ins from Macrofactor will help you stay on track. Many cuts become crash diets because it's impossible to know when and how much to alter calories, and many bulks become filthy bulks because it's hard to discern if you're developing muscle quickly enough. Thanks for watching.